Dear friends, the bittersweet irony of the season Christmas, a time meant for giving, for reaching out for love and redemption. Yet here they are trapped in a cage of their own making. You see, they'd like to reach out to whisper an apology, to stammer a heartfelt confession. But their pride, their ego, their need to be right, their refusal to show vulnerability, keeps them locked away from the one thing they know they need to do. They want to be free, but they don't know how to break the chains of their own creation. They let that small voice of self-justification grow louder, drowning out the truth. They should hear the truth that speaks softly and simply, that an apology might heal. But no, they're stuck. They cannot move past the walls they have built to protect themselves from the very thing that could set them free. As the cold winter winds blow through the streets, as the snow falls gently on the earth, and the world wraps itself in the warm glow of Christmas lights, they sit in the darkened corners of their hearts, trapped by their own refusal to bend their pride, standing tall like a fortress that keeps them distant and alone. You might think they would see the opportunity now, with the season of forgiveness upon us, with the reminders of love and peace all around. But they don't. They see only weakness. They fear only the loss of power. They believe that to apologize is to admit defeat. But let me tell you something, my friends. The true defeat lies not in admitting you're wrong, but in clinging to the illusion that your pride is more important than the connections you have with others, that the cold stone of ego is more valuable than the warmth of reconciliation. The irony is that the very thing that stands between them and the healing they crave is the very thing they refuse to let go of. It's almost as if they don't realize that their refusal to act is an action in itself, and that action leads to isolation, to broken bonds and fractured relationships. Instead of coming together, instead of reaching out, they will remain apart. The emptiness inside them grows bigger with every passing moment, every hour, every day. And yet they will tell themselves that they are better off this way. They will justify their silence with lies. They will twist the narrative to make themselves the victim. They will paint themselves as the innocent ones, because it's easier that way, isn't it? It's easier to live in a world where you're always right, where you're always blameless, than to face the uncomfortable truth that maybe you're the one who has failed to make things right. Maybe you're the one who has hurt the ones you love. But no, that truth is too much to bear for their fragile egos. They would rather keep pretending they don't care, rather than admit that their hearts are heavy with regret. And so the cycle continues. They will watch as time slips by, as the seasons change, as Christmas fades into the distance, but the hurt remains. It sits there in the corners of their minds, like a shadow that never leaves. They might have the chance to change. They might have the chance to break free, but instead, they will wait. They will wait until the moment passes, until the opportunity is gone, and they will look back with bitter regret, but by then it will be too late. The moment of redemption will have slipped through their fingers, and they will be left with nothing but the echo of their own pride. You might think that they would come to their senses. You might believe that at some point they will realize the power of an apology, the strength that comes with humility, the peace that follows the act of letting go. But the truth is far more difficult than that. My friends, the truth is that there are some people who will never reach out because they are too afraid to face what it means to truly be vulnerable, to expose the cracks in their armor, to admit that they are human and flawed. They will continue to live in the lie they have constructed around themselves. They will continue to pretend that they are above the need for reconciliation, above the need for love, because in their minds to ask for forgiveness is to lose control. And so they choose to remain alone instead of risking that vulnerability, instead of taking the chance to be whole. But here's the thing, my friends. Here's the cold, hard truth. No matter how much they pretend, no matter how many times they tell themselves that they are fine without it, they will always know deep down that they are not fine. They will always know that something is missing, that their relationships are hollow, that their hearts are heavy, that their egos have locked them out of the one thing that could make them whole again. And they will continue to search. They will search for distractions. They will search for things to fill the emptiness. But nothing will ever replace the love that they could have had, the love. They could have earned the peace they could have found if only they had the courage to apologize. If only they had the strength to let go of their ego long enough to reach out. You see, my friends, this is the tragedy of the human condition. We have this immense capacity for love, this ability to heal, this deep need to connect with one another. But we are also deeply flawed and fragile creatures, trapped by our own insecurities, our own fears, our own desires to protect ourselves from pain. We build walls around our hearts to keep others out. But what we don't realize is that those walls also keep the healing out. They keep the love out. They keep the very things we need to thrive and to grow away from us. And so we remain stuck in this bitter paradox. We want to reach out, but we cannot, because our egos tell us that we will lose something. If we do, we want to make amends, but we are too afraid that we will be seen as weak, too afraid that we will lose face. And so we hold back. We keep our distance. We let the pain linger. We let the silence grow, and we let the opportunity slip away. This Christmas, there will be those among us who will feel the weight of regret pressing down on their chests. There will be those who will wish they could go back in time to undo the hurt they caused, to take back the words they said, or to do things differently. But it will be too late for them to act on that feeling, because their pride will stop them. Their fear will stop them. Their refusal to admit that they are flawed will stop them, and they will let that Christmas pass by, just like every other one before it, with the same old pain, the same old regrets, and the same old walls between them and the people they love. And in that moment, they will know the bitter truth. They will know that the thing they could have done to heal the wound was simple. It was just an apology, just a moment of humility, just a reaching out, a letting go of the ego. But they will never take that step. They will never make that call. They will never send that message. They will never break the silence, because the chains of their own making are too strong, and they are too afraid to shatter them. So what happens to them, my friends? What becomes of those who refuse to reach out? What becomes of those who cannot or will not apologize? Well, the answer is simple. They will remain stuck. They will remain in that cage of their own creation. They will carry that burden with them every day of their lives. And the worst part is that they will never even know the freedom they could have had if they had just let go of their pride. They will never know the peace that comes with forgiveness, the joy that comes with reconciliation, because they will choose to hold on to the very thing that keeps them in pain. They will choose to let their ego win, and they will lose everything they could have gained in the process. This Christmas, don't let that be. You don't let the weight of pride keep you from the love and connection you need. Don't let the bitterness of ego rob you of the one thing that could make this season truly meaningful. The chance to heal, the chance to forgive, the chance to reach out and to make things right. It's not easy. It's never easy to admit you're wrong. It's never easy to apologize, especially when you feel like you were justified in your actions. But that's the challenge, isn't it? To choose to be vulnerable, to choose to let go of your ego, to choose love over pride. So this Christmas, ask yourself, what is more important to you? The need to be right or the need to be whole, because in the end the choice is yours, and it's a choice that will define the rest of your life. Every moment of hesitation, every second that passes, with the weight of pride pushing you further into the darkness, brings you closer to a future filled with regret. You might convince yourself that staying silent is the easier route, that holding your ground means you're strong, that protecting your ego somehow makes you invincible. But the truth is, every day you allow that pride to keep you from reaching out, you are building a prison of your own making. The walls are high, the bars are unyielding, and soon you will find that there is no escape. That silence you maintain, the distance you impose, the refusal to show humility, these things will become your shackles. And in the quiet of those long nights, when the world sleeps and you are left alone with your thoughts, when the Christmas lights flicker and the cold air reminds you of the emptiness in your chest, the truth will haunt you. You will know deep inside that you had a chance to change things. You had the power to end the distance, to dissolve the walls, to heal the wounds, but you chose not to. And that choice, that decision to stay locked in your ego, will echo in your life far beyond the holiday season. It will stay with you like a scar, reminding you of what you could have done, of what you should have done. There are few things more painful than the realization that you had the opportunity to mend a relationship, to heal a wound, and you let it slip away. It's a pain that eats away at you, a regret that gnaws at your soul. When the moment is gone, when the opportunity for reconciliation is past, there's nothing left but the hollow ache of knowing you could have made a difference, and yet you chose not to. But why? Why do we allow pride to dictate our actions? Why do we let our egos blind us to the simple truth that sometimes reaching out isn't about losing, but about gaining? Sometimes an apology isn't about admitting weakness, it's about showing strength. Strength to face the truth. Strength to admit our flaws. Strength to take responsibility for our mistakes. It's the strength to be vulnerable in a world that tells us we must be unbreakable. You see, the world wants to believe that vulnerability is a weakness, that the strong are those who hold their ground and refuse to bend. But that is a lie. True strength lies in the ability to be humble, in the courage to admit when you are wrong, and in the wisdom to understand that relationships, the ones that matter the most, are worth the discomfort of an apology. The connections we form, the love we share, are fragile and fleeting. And when we allow our pride to create distance between us and the people who matter most, we risk losing them forever. We have to ask ourselves, what is the cost of this pride? What are we willing to sacrifice in order to protect our fragile egos? What will happen if we let this moment pass without reaching out, without doing the one thing that could bring us peace? The answer is simple. We lose. We lose connection. We lose the potential for reconciliation. We lose the chance to be whole again. The irony, of course, is that the very thing we fear most, vulnerability, humility, and reconciliation, is the very thing that will set us free. We fear the discomfort of apologizing, the uncertainty of how it will be received, the vulnerability of putting ourselves out there. But what we fail to realize is that the real cost of pride is not the discomfort of saying sorry. It's the alienation, the loneliness, the emotional distance that continues to grow. Until one day, we look around and realize that the people we care about are no longer there. They've drifted away, and it's too late to bring them back. There is a deep, undeniable sadness in the human heart when we refuse to let go of our egos. We know, in the quietest parts of ourselves, that it's our pride that keeps us from reconciling, that it's our fear that makes us hesitate, that it's our reluctance to be vulnerable that drives us into the arms of loneliness. We know it, and yet we still cling to it. We tell ourselves that we are justified in holding back, that it's better to stay safe in our pride than to risk the unknown. But what we don't see is that the unknown isn't as terrifying as we think. The unknown is the place where healing happens, where relationships are reborn, where love is rekindled. The unknown is where we find the courage to make things right, to repair what was broken, to rebuild what was lost. And in this season of Christmas, when the world celebrates the birth of love and peace, when the spirit of forgiveness is so palpable in the air, don't you want to be a part of that? Don't you want to feel the warmth of reconciliation? Don't you want to experience the freedom that comes with letting go of the past, with releasing the grip of ego that holds you prisoner? The power of an apology is not in the words themselves, but in the intent behind them. The power lies in the willingness to open your heart, to show the other person that you value them enough to say you're sorry, to show them that you are ready to move forward together, not apart. And if they don't accept your apology, if they don't respond the way you hoped, that's not on you. You've done your part. You've made the choice to choose love over pride, to choose connection over isolation. Sometimes, the greatest act of courage is simply reaching out, knowing that the outcome is uncertain. You cannot control how others will respond, but you can control how you act. And if you are the one who reaches out first, if you are the one who shows humility, then you have already won. You've won the peace that comes from knowing you did everything you could. You've won the strength that comes from letting go of your pride. And you've won the freedom that comes from not allowing the past to dictate your future. Think of the years ahead of you. What kind of life do you want to lead? One defined by the walls you've built up around your heart. One where pride and ego rule the day, and you carry the weight of regret with you wherever you go. Or do you want a life defined by love, by reconciliation, by the courage to make things right? The choice is yours. The path is in front of you, waiting to be walked. All it takes is the willingness to step forward, to choose humility, to choose healing. This Christmas, as you sit in the warmth of your home, as you celebrate with your loved ones, remember this: life is too short to let pride stand in the way of what matters most. Relationships are fragile, and time is fleeting. The people you care about might not always be around. Don't wait until it's too late to reach out. Don't wait until the moment is past. Make the decision now to let go of your ego, to open your heart, and to choose love over pride. The peace, the joy, the freedom that comes with that decision will stay with you long after the Christmas lights have faded and the season has passed. It will be the gift that keeps on giving, a gift that lasts a lifetime. So ask yourself, what is more important to you, being right or being whole? Being right is a seductive illusion, isn't it? The belief that the world will somehow fall into place once we assert our correctness, that the weight of righteousness will give us the satisfaction we need. It seems like a powerful stance, doesn't it? We hold on to it because it protects us. It shields us from the discomfort of vulnerability, from the emotional exposure that comes with admitting that we might have been wrong. Being right gives us a sense of control, a sense of authority over the situation. But the truth, my friends, is that being right has a price. It costs us the one thing we can never replace: the depth of our connections with others. When we are fixated on being right, when we allow ourselves to be consumed by our ego and our desire to prove a point, we sacrifice the very thing that makes life meaningful. We push others away. We isolate ourselves. We lock ourselves in a tower of self-righteousness, never once considering the damage we're doing to the relationships around us. And all of it, is done in the name of being right. But at what cost? The truth is, we all make mistakes. We all falter. We all have moments when we say things we regret or act in ways we wish we could take back. That's part of being human. That's part of the messy, beautiful complexity of life. And yet, in the face of our imperfection, we continue to cling to the idea that we must always be right, that we must never show weakness, that we must never let go of the fragile illusion that we are infallible. It's exhausting, isn't it? Trying to uphold this facade, trying to convince ourselves and everyone else that we are always correct, always in control, always above reproach. But here's the thing, there is no strength in always being right. There is no growth, no evolution, no learning in it. It's a static position, a dead end. And yet, so many of us continue down that road, thinking that it will bring us fulfillment, that it will give us the approval we crave, that it will somehow make us whole. But it won't. It can't. Because being right only serves to reinforce our sense of separation from others. It builds walls instead of bridges. It creates distance instead of connection. When you choose to be right over being whole, you choose to be divided. You choose to stay locked in your own small, lonely world, refusing to step outside the boundaries of your own ego. You choose to remain incomplete because the truth is that being whole is not about being right. It's about embracing the fullness of your humanity. It's about being open to change, to growth, to healing. It's about accepting that sometimes, to move forward, you have to let go of being right. You have to put your pride down and be willing to take the difficult step of reaching out, of apologizing, of showing vulnerability. Being whole requires you to open your heart, to allow yourself to be seen, to let go of the armor you've built to protect yourself from the world. It's about accepting the fact that you will make mistakes, that you will hurt others, that you will fall short. But it's also about learning from those mistakes, about using them to become a better version of yourself. Being whole is about reconciliation, not just with others, but with yourself. It's about letting go of the shame that comes with being imperfect and learning to embrace the beauty of imperfection. It's about allowing yourself to be human, to be flawed, and to be loved despite it all. And yes, my friends, that's difficult. That's painful. It's so much easier to stay in the comfortable space of being right, to hide behind the walls of pride and defensiveness, to believe that your way is the only way. But ask yourself this, what do you really gain from that? You gain nothing. You gain a hollow victory, a fleeting sense of superiority that lasts only as long as you continue to cling to it. You gain distance, alienation, and the pain of watching relationships slip away because you are too stubborn, too proud, too unwilling to let go of your own righteousness. But when you choose to be whole, when you choose love, when you choose to open your heart, you gain everything. You gain peace. You gain connection. You gain the beauty of reconciliation and the strength that comes from admitting you were wrong. You gain the ability to look at the people in your life and know that you are not just right, but whole. That you are capable of love, capable of growth, capable of healing. You gain the kind of fulfillment that comes not from being the smartest or the most correct, but from being the most real, the most authentic, the most human. Being right is an illusion, but being whole is a reality. It's the reality of being able to sleep at night without the weight of pride crushing you. It's the reality of knowing that you are not alone, that the people in your life are there because you've chosen to be vulnerable with them, to let them in, to share your humanity with them. It's the reality of knowing that when you make a mistake, you can fix it, that you can apologize and make amends, that you can repair the damage and rebuild the trust. Being whole means you are connected, not just to others, but to yourself. You are at peace with who you are, flaws and all. It's tempting to choose being right because it feels like an immediate win, but it's an empty victory. And the longer you hold on to that empty victory, the more it will cost you. The more it will erode your ability to connect with others. The more it will drain the love and joy from your life. It's a choice that leads to isolation, to loneliness, to regret. And when you finally realize that being right has not brought you the peace you thought it would, when you realize that the walls you've built to protect yourself have actually kept you from experiencing the very thing you crave most, connection, it will be too late. The damage will be done. But there is another path, a better path, the path of humility, the path of love, the path of being whole. This Christmas and every day after, choose to be whole. Choose to let go of your pride. Choose to be vulnerable. Choose to apologize when you've wronged someone. Choose to open your heart and let others in. Choose to forgive yourself and others for the mistakes of the past. Choose to heal. Choose peace. Choose to embrace the fullness of who you are, the beauty of your imperfection, and the power of love. Choose to be whole, because being whole is where true freedom lies. And in the end, when you look back on your life, when you reflect on the choices you made, do you want to be able to say that you were right? Or do you want to be able to say that you were whole, that you lived with an open heart, that you loved fully, that you made things right, that you forgave and were forgiven, that you chose connection over separation, love over pride? The choice is yours, and that choice will define the rest of your life. In the end, the choice is clear. You can hold on to your pride, cling to being right, and watch as it isolates you from those you care about. Or you can let go of your ego, embrace humility, and choose to be whole. The path of reconciliation, of love, and of forgiveness is not always easy, but it is the one that leads to true peace and fulfillment. This Christmas, and every day that follows, choose connection over separation, vulnerability over pride, and love over being right. Because in the end, it's not being right that defines you, it's being whole. And that, my friends, is where real strength lies.